Hi everybody, can everybody hear me okay? I think that we've got some people joined the session. Fantastic, brilliant, excellent. Thank you, Lauren. Great to see you again, and thank you everybody for joining my session today on enhancing, looking at the sense of belonging and how we can enhance a sense of belonging within the NHS People Plan and more wider. And today I'll be focusing on kind of the psychological connections around enhancing sense of belonging. So I'm just going to give you a few more seconds as people are still joining the call, and I will load up my presentation onto the system for you. I'm very happy to share my presentation widely, and in the chat I will leave my contact details. So if there's anything that that sparks an interest and you'd like some more information on, I will be very, very happy to share with you. So I'll just go into reading view. Excellent. So I'm hoping you'll be able to see the screen on the presentation. Excellent. So welcome to this leadership lab over the next 45 minutes, and connecting the psychology of belonging to improve equality, diversity and inclusion performance. My name's Ricky. I work as the Associate Director of Organizational Development. I'm actually very, very pleased to confirm I had an interview with the Isle of Wight NHS Trust. I joined the Trust in January on a secondment, but I've just learned I've been appointed to the Deputy Director of Organisational Development and Inclusion. So some personal good news I'd like to share with you. So and hopefully at the end of this presentation, I'll be able to prove why they've given me this role. But I will be focusing on the aims and objectives, a methodology, a transferable methodology, but also what does the key performance indicators, what does the performance metrics look like in regards to improving performance through the sense of belonging. So great to have you on the session today. I'd just like to firstly focus on the NHS People Plan, which I feel is extremely important. And I worked in the private sector. And again, thank you for the congratulations. It's really, really kind of you guys. I worked in the private sector before I came into the NHS. And the NHS People Plan is something that I'm really connecting with. It's a fantastic framework. It's, for me, hits the critical components, not only working in the COVID-19 context, but beyond. And just to summarize for those who aren't in the NHS, there are some key objectives that we're working towards, which is looking after our people with quality health and well-being support for everyone. And this is something that I've focused on here at the Isle of Wight. In particular, I kind of tore up the appraisal paperwork this year in April, and I redesigned the appraisal to a health and well-being check-in. So our leaders and our managers, or every member of the organization, started a health and well-being conversation around how they are feeling in terms of their psychological safety, their physical health and well-being, and what support they need for them to thrive and be at their best whilst at work, either working remotely or physically on site. So again, that's something I can happily share with you. But also I extended that and delivered a series of lunch and learns around developing a bank of coaching style questions, coaching well-being questions for managers to use in a one-to-one or appraisal conversation. So again, it gave some structure around how we support people in the workplace. I'm going to focus today on the belonging in the NHS with a particular focus on tackling discrimination. So again, great to see that within the NHS People Plan, and that will impact on our people, regardless of what sector we work in. And I'll be sharing with you a transferable methodology, but also inviting your thoughts and opinions around how we can strengthen our approach to belonging in the NHS. And I will also think about people who are working remotely, and how do we enhance that sense of belonging when you're not physically on site anymore. New ways of working and delivering care, so making the effective use of our people skills and experiences. So again, I think that's quite transferable to the private sector also, around how the new way of working will impact us over the next 12 months. But then growing for the future, how we recruit and keep and retain our people, and welcome back colleagues who want to return. And there's some fantastic communication, marketing, and advertisements of promoting the NHS as a great place to work on social media and on TV adverts. And I think this links into our NHS People Plan, which resonates me. I love this diagram, this picture, and it's everything that I want as an employee within the NHS, and something that I have a responsibility for, to create that or enable a culture of safety for our people. In the chat, so I want to keep this interactive, and the first question I would like to ask you is to start thinking about definitions. So in the chat, could you please give me your thoughts and reflections or definitions of what belonging means to you? So just for a few moments, could you please share that? And there's some great questions coming through, and I will answer those questions as well. So if you could give me your definitions of what does belonging mean to you? Fantastic, Sarah Jane, thank you so much. Having a shared purpose and vision and values, I love that. We need to reduce that cognitive dissonance between one's individual vision and values and the organizational values. Joanne, feeling comfortable to speak and contribute within your team, that freedom to speak up is so important when it comes to a sense of belonging, and Victoria being part of a team and having a place and space in the organization from Trish. I love that. And extended by Lauren's comments as well, around that sense of fitting in and having a place. And that's really important from a psychology perspective. Organizational fit, cultural fit can be quite not dangerous terms, but it is important in terms of individual fit within the organization. And whenever I go to an organization, and prior to me accepting the role here at the Isle of Wight, I looked on their website, I looked at their values, I looked at what they're about as an organization, and Claire Vaughan, I love that, a sense of meaning, strong relationships, and a positive identity. That's absolutely critical. I love that identity as part of that sense of belonging. So from an inclusion perspective, that's really important in terms of bringing your true, authentic self to the workplace. I'm very, very lucky. In the last 10 years, I worked at Southern Health in Hampshire, and in the last 12 months at the Isle of Wight. I can genuinely tell you, I've always been made to feel I'm a valued member of staff, and I've never been made to feel I'm a black or I'm a member of the minority ethnic member of staff. So it's a very truly inclusive place. Absolutely, we need to improve in lots of areas for diversity and inclusion, but I think that identity, from what Claire Vaughan says, is so important. I'm just going to go back to, there was a quick couple of questions. Trish, yeah, absolutely, I can share the assessment with you. That's no problem at all, and I will leave my direct email address. And Sarah James, have you developed anything to guide managers if staff become distressed during that conversation due to race? Absolutely, and I can share that with you as well. So I designed a 3-tier framework of supporting minority ethnic people within the workplace in terms of their health and well-being, their talent profile, but then also the impact of a risk assessment, or completing their risk assessment in terms of their health and safety due to COVID-19. So again, I can share with you the management programs and training materials I designed as part of that program. So very, very happy to share that with you. Brilliant. Thank you so much for your comments and thoughts there. Brilliant themes that are coming through. So when I looked this up, I know what it means to me, but I just wanted to share, and it's no different to what you've described. And I looked up the Oxford Dictionary, and belonging is defined as the feeling of being comfortable and happy in a particular situation or with a particular group of people, to feel a sense of belonging, which I thought was really important, because we want our staff to feel that psychological safety. We want people to feel comfortable, and we want them to be happy, healthy, and motivated. But also, when we dissect being happy and comfortable with a particular group of people, that's really important. We need to be mindful of the impact of in and out group behavior. And I'm sure through our experiences, we've seen that across the private and public sector. And I know I have seen it, where I've undertaken workplace investigations where an in and out group behavior has manifested itself. So we really need to focus around how we create that sense of belonging when there are cultural or leadership impacts within teams and services, divisions, care groups, or within the wider organization. I'm a health psychologist by background, so I completed my psychology degree up in the amazing city of Newcastle, and I did my chartership in London. And I just wanted to share this sprinkle of psychology with you, because this kind of tells a really nice story. Hurtado and Carter in 1997 suggested that a sense of belonging is the psychological feeling of belonging or connectedness to a social, spatial, cultural, professional, or other type of group or community. And I love the work of Hurtado and Carter, and they've done a lot of work around a sense of belonging. I feel that the research base isn't that great, researching sense of belonging, and this is an opportunity, I think, for us as part of the NHS People Plan to look at the impact. But I really like this definition, that connectedness, that social, spatial, cultural, and professional group. And you guys have also mentioned the importance of identity and being part of a team. Winter Collins and McDaniel in 2000 suggested that shared beliefs or ideals, a supportive environment, self-esteem, and opportunities for interaction can influence the development of a sense of belonging in an individual. Again, thinking about your feedback around values that has come through, that shared identity, and reducing the impact of cognitive dissonance between one's individual values and the organizational values. The greater the cognitive dissonance, the potential for conflict. Goodnow in 1993 described a sense of belonging as a sense of being accepted, valued, included, and encouraged by others, and of feeling oneself to be an important part of the life and activity of the team. So again, when we think about diversity and inclusion, how does this impact on groups protected by the Equality Act? So I take a data-led approach, and I can share with you right across the NHS, 1.4 million employees, disabled people or people with disabilities have the poorest experience of their membership of the NHS. And the impact of or experience of discrimination, equal opportunities in career progression, bullying and harassment is at unacceptable levels, and we need to do something about it. So again, this also impacts on people from LGBT plus backgrounds and also from minority ethnic groups. So again, a lot of work required. Baumeister and Leary in 95 suggested that the need to belong is characterized by a need for regular contact and the perception that the interpersonal relationship has stability, affective concern, and is ongoing. And for me, this is where compassionate and inclusive leadership comes into play. So in September this year, a couple of months ago, I delivered an OD program called Leader Fest. So every day for 1 week, members of my executive board, my trust board members, CEO, director of nursing, director of communications, etc., delivered a leadership session every day at lunchtime. So it's almost like like a Parkinson type of interview. A lot of people say I look like Parkinson. I don't see the resemblance, if I'd be completely honest with you, but it was almost worked as an interview. So I highlighted up-to-date psychological research around building trust, and my CEO would then return with her thoughts, reflections, and feelings of how we build trust within the organization. So again, a really powerful way of connecting our people with our senior leaders within the organization. And again, there's 5 modules I created. More than happy to share those modules with you. And then finally, Maslow in 68. We're all familiar with Maslow's work, but just to summarize this, the end of this sprinkle of psychology, Maslow suggested that proper, adequate, and timely satisfaction of the need for belongingness leads to physical, emotional, behavioral, and mental well-being. So again, the impact of our work around values integration and enhancing a sense of belonging is so important, not just for inclusion, but also for our wider people development programs. I'll just go back to the screen just to make sure if there's any questions coming through. But yes, great. I've got some email addresses and I'll share mine as well before we finish to share those with you. So great to connect with people, and then that's resonating with people. So I also deliver a series. One of my development programs is Leadership Labs, where we foster collective responses from our people here at the Isle of Wight to some of our complex or wicked issues when it comes to people and organizational development. And I always take a psychological approach to enhancing a sense of well-being and my method for diversity and inclusion. The question I would like to pose back to you is, I would like us to think about the aims, methodology, and the results. So we're going to participate in a leadership lab where we will design a program of how we enhance a sense of belonging. So just over the next couple of minutes, could you firstly think about our aims? So this is really important. How do we connect or enhance a sense of well-being? What would be our aims? So what's the question we are trying to answer when it comes to enhancing a sense of belonging? Could I just have on, if you were going to embed or integrate a belonging program, what would be your aims and objectives? So what would be your aims in terms of when you're thinking about integrating a program around a sense of belonging and inclusion within the workplace? What would be our top 3 aims? Fantastic, thank you, Liz. Great to see my good friend Liz on the session today as well. Liz and I go way back. Fantastic colleague and friend. Better experience for staff and patients, absolutely. So we really need to think about what are our metrics around. So our question is, if we want to enhance the sense of belonging, it is about better outcomes and experience for staff and patients and our customers. Absolutely. Great aim. So we've got patient and people outcomes. Fantastic, great examples. Thank you, Alison, Joanne, and Sarah. So enabling staff to be at their best, fantastic, increasing awareness and understanding of culture. Fantastic, I'm just writing these down as well. So if I put cultural capability, and I would highlight the psychologist Papadopoulos, who is kind of a leading authority on cultural capability in the workplace. And she's quite often on daytime TV. She's Greek by background, and she's done some amazing work on cultural capability. and dissecting it to cultural awareness, cultural knowledge, and cultural capability. Fantastic. We've got eliminating in and out group behavior. I love that, Sarah. Brilliant comment there. So if I put due regard to eliminate in stroke out group behavior, that's 3 fantastic aims when we think about our aims for a sense of belonging. And the reason why I put due regard, that's really important when it comes to our work around diversity and inclusion, because can we eliminate discrimination completely within our organizations? We live in an unequal society, and that's come to a fore in the last couple of years. And I prefer the due regard, because then it kind of gives it a bit more emphasis around our programs of work. I love that from Claire Vaughan. Connection to the organization purpose, doing the right thing, creating healthy relationships to speak up, speak out, and challenge. I absolutely love that. I'm just going to see if I can just copy and paste that in, to be honest. So love that from Claire and colleagues in terms of what you've done. Just put that in. This is where my technical skills might come to, might embarrass me a little bit. Let's have a look. There we go. Fantastic. So we've got that in there as well. So in terms of my next question, so some fantastic aims in terms of how we think about embedding a sense of belonging. There are aims, but can you give me some of your thoughts and reflections on methodology? So how, Claire, thinking copyright here, absolutely. I'll make sure that is attributed to yourself, Claire. And I always think in the NHS, there's no such thing as plagiarism in the NHS, but I promise that will be attributed to yourself, Claire. Fantastic. And I know you're joking, don't worry. No, really, really important feedback that you've given there, Claire. 3 fantastic. I think that feeds in nicely with our freedom to speak up culture of safety programs as well. So we had a quick conversation around our aims. What about methodology? Any thoughts on how we make it happen? So have a think about the aims we've just discussed. How would you describe the methodology? How do we enable the method of enabling those aims? Bit of a tricky question, I know, but any thoughts or reflections? And there's no right or wrong answer here. So again, just interesting. Stealing with pride, obviously. Absolutely, Alison. And maybe that's the methodology. Stealing with pride. I'm actually going to put that in. I like that, because the opportunity. I get excited about systems, and we know the direction of travel around working as a system as part of our integrated care provider, integrated care systems. It's given lots of opportunities where we can work in partnership and share good practice. I know, yes, we are sovereign organizations, but I've certainly benefited from sharing my information, my programs with other people, and and people have done the same with me, and to the greater benefit of our people and our patients. So, power of storytelling. I love that. Absolutely love that. That has a real impact of understanding experiences, and that could be not only within Trust Board, because quite often, I'll be interested in your thoughts maybe at another time, but quite often the question I posed is, we always hear about patient stories, but the question I ask, where's the staff story when we have Trust Board meetings or divisional meetings, and embedding that as part of day-to-day programs, which is really important. And Adora, creating a safe and trustworthy environment that will facilitate a genuine listening and speaking up event. Love that, Adora. That's brilliant. I love the word trustworthy there. Creating a safe and trustworthy environment, which is really important. So our methodology of building trust within the organization, and if anybody's familiar with this, I use the work of Ken Blanchard, which is the ABCD model of trust. And please, when I send you the Building Trust module, I've contained that within within the presentation, and it gives an activity of how to undertake a facilitated conversation between two people, a group or a team, or even a service where trust has broken down. So I've had lots of success with that model. So very happy to share that with you as well. So great. We've looked at aims, we've looked at methodologies. Final question on this leadership lab is results. If we enable our aims, if we embed this methodology, then what does the results look like? So how would you measure a sense of belonging? And if you could try to keep it quite specific and smart around sense of belonging. So what would be the results? So Claire's just saying, need to start delivering the message from the start as part of induction and welcome days. Absolutely, completely agree with that. Not just seen as leadership development for those in power. Completely agree, Claire. It needs to be delivered right across the organisation, across all levels. So Jesslyn, fantastic. So continued improvement engagement levels. So we can be measured through staff engagement levels. If I put staff survey or employee surveys, sorry, I can't spell today. We've got friends and family and pulse surveys that we will hold. Fantastic. From the staff survey, yeah, I absolutely agree, and I think this is where this becomes so important. So the key areas I tend to focus on is equal opportunity in career development and the progression, which is for me, happy to be challenged, is an important component or marker for inclusion, because what we find is protected groups, especially from a ethnic background, are underrepresented in senior levels of the organisation. The women make up 78% of the National Health Service, 1.4 million employees, but we see a significant underrepresentation of women in Band 8 positions. In my organisation, we've got fantastic representation of women on board: CEO, chief nurse, director of nursing, director of transformation, all women. So we've got fantastic representation, but we do see that decline in Band 8 positions. So we need to engage and find out, and also the gender pay gap of 19% in my organisation. So again, that just highlights the challenge that we've got around inclusion from women on board. Justin, thanks again. Retention rate. So all the things that we know, so recruitment, retention, and our performance. So I would not disagree with any of that. So thank you so much for that. I think that leadership lab is important for us to kind of consider the importance of understanding our aims, methodology, and results. What I'm going to share with you now is some of my thoughts and reflections of what I've done as part of this going forward. So if I just go back. Okay. So just to make sure, because my screen's gone a bit weird, can you see my screen where it's an arrow pointing? So we've got 3 people pointing an arrow. So I'm going to show. Fantastic. Thank you, Justin. Thank you so much. So here I'm just going to focus on the aims of my session. So sorry, it's gone back. There we go. So what were the aims? Where was I coming from this in terms of is my thinking aligned to yourself? So this is a fantastic framework by Senge in 2011. SENGE, psychologist called Senge, and he created this framework around a learning organization that facilitates the learning of its members and continuously transforms itself. This is really important for me for a sense of belonging that gives power to our people around the success of our organization. We listen to our people, we learn from our people, and will bring about positive outcomes for our people and our customers. And the reason why I like this model so much is Isle of Wight. One of the things that attracted me to go to work at the Isle of Wight, it's in special measures. It requires improvements with our regulators. For me, I like fixing things. So for me, being part of a cultural transformation journey is something that excites me. But from my cultural diagnostic that I undertook, I do see resonance with this model. So a hierarchical organization focus its values around security. Skills are focused on problems and tasks. Leadership is a centralized directive. The structure of the organization is rigid and dominated by power and status. The preoccupation is day-to-day survival, bottom line driven. The mission context is maximizing results and meeting targets. The employee receives orders, does their job and completes their task. Communication is top down. So this is a really nice way of thinking about organizations where we've worked before, or even currently. Is that element drawing about in terms of what it's doing? Does that create a sense of belonging for all the protected groups within our organization? And ultimately, we want to move through these levels to a learning organization where our values, we learn from every encounter. There's drive for insight and creative sharing and self-reflection. There's mentorship. We enable everyone to lead collaboratively. The structure is interdependent network of individuals and teams. There's quality of interaction through the organization and the quality of life in society. We impact on the national scene. We move towards interdependent, fully integrated individuals, which is really important as part of our the NHS people and the long-term plan around systems partnership working. Our communication is delivers empathy, compassion, and inclusion. So again, a fantastic model to think about when we undertake a diagnostic around a sense of belonging. Further to that, there's the work of Ogbanner and Harris, which I've included within my diversity and inclusion work around improving our leadership culture and the 12 steps of high-performing teams. So I tend to, whenever I deliver a team development around inclusion, I leave this screen blank and I'll ask teams and services to ask them the question, tell me the 12 steps of high-performing teams. What 12 cultural conditions are required? And I use that term specifically. What are the 12 cultural conditions required to enhance a sense of belonging within our teams and within our organization? And Ogbanner and Harris then have come up with these 12 components. And I'm sure none of us will disagree with that. We need and think about what you've come up with in terms of your aims and objectives. Openness, psychological safety, feeling valued, reward and recognition, performance, outcomes for our patients, our people and our customers and the organization. Team relationships built on dignity and respect. A focus on well-being around Maslow's requirements and his thoughts on how a sense of belonging can improve positive outcomes, physical, mental, social well-being. Confidence is really important as well, having that courage and confidence with organizations that are on improvement. That opportunity to build confidence through enhancing sense of well-being is really important, and that brings about innovation. That gives the confidence and the courage for people to speak out and focus on things that we are doing well in the organization and how we can improve. My screen's frozen slightly for a moment. So Gillian, I'll just go back to your question, a really good question. For this learning organizational model to move from 1 to 4, do you need to go through each phase, or can an organization jump? I think that goes back to the quality of your diagnostic for your organization, Gillian. I think when we do cultural diagnostics, it's something that I use within the organization, and I did it at the Isle of Wight. And you can move. You don't have to go through phase by phase, but for true learning to occur, I believe it's really important to build our evidence base around each phase. So again, and you might be at different phases for each component. So again, by undertaking quite a robust cultural diagnostic using this model. You can identify where you are on that matrix, identify what you're doing well. Let's put an appreciative inquiry on where we are. If we're on level 4, if we're on level 1 for our employees or our values, then what's the improvement priorities that we work as part of our people and OD programs going forward? Hope that answers your question. Next, I'm going to focus on the research method. So what's been my methodology? So you know my aims now of what I'm trying to achieve as part of sense of belonging, using the SENGE learning model and the Ogbanner and Harris 12 steps of high performing teams. And we all very familiar with the multi-methods approach to qualitative research methods, but I focus my methodology for diversity and inclusion and a sense of belonging based on ethnographic research methods. So I'm not sure if anybody's heard of that before, but ethnographic research. Ethnographic research is a technique that researchers use to learn about people in specific environments. It's more in-depth than observational research, and ethnographic research requires the researcher or the investigating officer, whatever, or the audit officer to participate in the environment that they are observing. If I give you a quick example, in Southern Health, my previous organization, minority ethnic staff were 3 times more likely to be subject to a formal disciplinary. Not surprising, we know that's happening in the NHS. I managed to reduce that to 1 within 2 years. And Roger Klein is a very good friend. He's always asked me to share, and a lot of organizations contact me, Rick, how have you done this? Very happy to share the methodology. I integrated an ethnographic research method to reduce BAME disciplinaries. What that meant was I spent 2 years working closely with the HR team, our employee relations team, and I engaged at the very start of the disciplinary process with permission, with the service manager, with HR, and the person going through the disciplinary. I did not interfere in the process, so the process ran as it is. What I did was I stepped into the shoes of the minority ethnic member of staff as they went through the process. I stepped into the shoes of the manager as they went through the process. I stepped in the shoes of the HR team as they went through the process. I documented the process. I looked at what we were doing well, what we weren't doing well. And here's an 8-step approach of what I did to reduce BAME disciplinaries from 3 times more likely to 1. And it was a fantastic way of documenting our evidence. What I will share with you, and I'm sure this is quite maybe piqued your interest in this outcome, is the way I undertook that was I used data triangulation. So 3 times more likely BAME disciplinaries. I also found that males were 2 times more likely. I then pinpointed the data and found that it was occurring in a certain area of our business in one of our divisions within our mental health services. I then drilled down to the ethnic category of who the disciplinaries were impacting on more than anybody else, because BAME is such a broad term. Anybody who's not white British. So I found that it was our Black British staff that were impacted negatively or overrepresented when it came to BME disciplinaries in the process. So the key learning from me was the disciplinary was justified, absolutely. There's nothing from me in terms of my learning in regards to that. But the critical learning was, as I stepped into the shoes of the people, was they said, Ricky, I'm being disciplined because I fell asleep on the shift. Rightly so, I made a mistake, and there were there's serious consequences for doing that. But what they said to me also, and this is very difficult to prove in a research perspective, but the white member of staff has also fell asleep on the shift, but they were let off with a warning by the white manager. So, Ricky, there's differential treatment happening here. So again, very difficult to prove, but the insight that we gained was for me to then design a responsive, effective equality and diversity training program within services and divisions. So our, what I call diversity moments. So using data at a local level, we had our trust-wide mandatory programs, but then I used intelligence, HR analytics to then design local improvement priorities within services. So again, a great way to focus on our programs. Just because of time, I think I've only got 4 minutes left, so I'm going to start to come to the end of the presentation. This is the methodology that I put together for diversity and inclusion. And if anybody asks me, Ricky, can you send me your strategy for equality and diversity? And they're expecting a 20-page document, you'll be bitterly disappointed, because my diversity and inclusion strategy is 1 page, and this is it. And this is what I presented to my trust board, to which my HR director did become a bit nervous, but I said, trust me, I'll bring about results. It doesn't have to be a 20-page document. And I'll share my results with you, then you'll be able to make your own opinions whether I'm terrible at my job or I'm all right at my job. I hope to think I'm all right. But this is a clear methodology in terms of what is our outcome, what's the offer, what's my business offer to the organization, diversity and inclusion, and what impact are we going to have. Very, very specific, very smart and achievable. And again, I'll send this to you so you can digest it, and then we can have a further conversation around what does it actually mean. But I've integrated a well-led architecture. So this is based on the 8 key lines of inquiry as part of the well-led domain. I've utilized that to design an equality standard to embed and carry the values of belonging and inclusion within the workplace. Finally, over the last couple of minutes, because I do believe we finish at 1:30, is results. So after the culmination of all this, I'm hoping the question you're asking me is, Ricky, this all sounds great. What difference has all this made? Here's our staff survey results in terms of sense of belonging. As you can see, we are an integrated trust providing mental health, LD, acute, community and ambulance services. And the green areas donates a positive improvement from 2018 to 2019. And this is really pleasing to see that within a short period of time, we're building confidence in staff survey. And for equality, diversity and inclusion, we score 9.1 out of 10 for mental health, 9.1 for acute, 9.2 in the community. And I'm really pleased in our ambulance service, 9.5, which meets the national benchmark comparator. So some great work there as part of our improvement journey. I'm really pleased to share with you this year, we've achieved a record response rate in staff survey response at, I can unofficially confirm, at 58%, where we've always got between 35 and 40. So this year, we've achieved our record response rate of 58%, which I've attributed down to the Ricky factor. Okay, I'm just showing off now. But this is where I think you're going to hopefully be impressed with. As part of our res metrics, BAME, staff believing that the trust provides equal opportunity, 30% improvement. We are now at 82% within 12 months. 11% reduction in bullying and harassment, and a 50% reduction in experiencing discrimination. And finally, this is what it's all about for me. Yes, aims, methodology, results are really, really important, but a sense of belonging for me is captured within this quote, and I'll let you read this quote. So, thank you so much for your time. I believe my time is up, if Lauren can confirm. I hope you enjoyed the session. I do believe it's a 1:30 finish. Otherwise, we do have some time if it's 12:45, 1:45. But I'll let Lauren, the facilitator, confirm the time. But been brilliant to speak to you guys, and great to have so many comments and a focus on your feedback. The ethnographic research, so Karen's just mentioned, the ethnographic research is fascinating. Would love to talk to you. Absolutely. Let me give you my email address, just in case I don't get a chance to a capture in the comments. Oh, it's a 1:45 close. That's fantastic. Do you know, this is the first time I've actually finished a presentation on time. I'm a Manchester United fan, and I always love going into Fergie time. So if there's any my fellow Northerners on the call, great. So fantastic. This is brilliant. So we do have some time for questions. So very happy to take any questions right now. And this is, well, I think if I just, whilst I'm waiting for people to type, this isn't my normal look. This is my lockdown look. My beard is getting quite long, and I need to make some time to visit the Turkish barbers very soon. So hopefully I'll look like my profile picture on LinkedIn. So any questions on what we've talked about today? Thank you, Claire. What's your personal leadership journey look like, Ricky? So great question. So yes, studied psychology, health psychology, worked in the private sector, in banking, in the financial sector. My dad's an investment banker. Please note I said banker. And that was a great experience for me, and kind of got me involved in the Women on Board program with Lord Crisp, around working with the FTSE 250 companies around increasing representation of Women on Board program, which is what piqued my interest in inclusion. I then worked in public health commissioning and mental health, and then 10 years at Southern Health, and now at NHS. But in terms of my leadership style, I like to think I adopt a motivational style of leadership, based on inclusion and compassion, and making people feel special and valued. I feel I have that responsibility. I think all of us have that responsibility, whether we're in a leadership position or not. So, and valuing people's opinions. You know, yes, okay, now as of today, I'm going to be a deputy director. That doesn't mean I know everything. I go to my people who are delivering frontline services, and I envisage them as the experts. You know, how can we improve? Let's listen to you. You're the ones who are delivering the service. I'll be guided by you. That's my leadership style. Karen Wise, did you encounter any issues from the individuals you were shadowing them during their investigation? No. I think for me, it is very much around communicating the aims of what we're trying to achieve. Obviously, it'd be kind of like, you know, who are you? And you're interfering in my process. But when we focused on the importance of what our data is telling us, I engage. I took it to Trust Board, got the buy-in, got the working closely with the HR director and the deputy director of HR and the employee relations team, so we can identify what my role was. But you know, you have to stay a silent partner, because you can't interfere in the process. You can't give your thoughts and feelings to kind of taint the process in any way, or offer advice in any way, as we know. But otherwise, it's quite an easy process to deliver. But it brings about positive outcomes, especially as you've seen with our res metrics. Alison, thank you. Alison, what is your view of reciprocal reverse mentoring? So this is where I might get into a little bit of trouble, and I'll always be open and honest with you guys. For me, I'll start, before I answer that question, I've never been on a BME specific leadership development program, Breaking Through, Ready Now. I believe if someone wants to go on them, that's their personal choice, their opinion. Personally, I've never done that. The reason why I haven't done that is because why would I want to do that in the first place? I don't see myself as a BME member of staff. I see myself as an NHS employee. I see myself as a member of Wight NHS Trust. And if I want to learn and support my development, then I will shadow Claire Vaughan. I will contact Liz Gambrill. I will spend time with Karen Wise. I'll spend time with Alison Kingscott, and everybody on this call. And for me, my learning and development has come from going to public trust board. My developments come from knocking on the door of my HR director saying, can you give me a stretch assignment? Can you give me a stretch project? Can I attend the trust performance committee? I'll remain silent and bite my tongue, which I find really difficult to do. I love to talk, but again, what can I learn from performance committee? Can I shadow the CEO? Can I shadow the chief operating officer? Can I shadow the mental health service manager? Can I shadow a healthcare support worker working in our specialized mental health services? Can I shadow someone in the ED department? That's where my learning. So in a way, the reciprocal reverse mentoring I've benefited from, but for me, it goes back to the aims and objectives of that mentoring relationship. What are you trying to achieve? If we look at race equality, we haven't shifted the dial at all. BAME staff are overrepresented in band 2 and band 5 positions. They're the entry-level positions of going into the NHS organisation. I started off as a band 5, and yes, I've made my way to a deputy director, but I'm few and far between in corporate services, especially in my region. So I've done it, but then I have a responsibility to, I say act as a role model. I'm a terrible role model, but I know Liz Gamble knows my eating habits. I have a balanced diet: McDonald's on a Monday, Tuesday KFC, Wednesday Pizza Hut. But again, a focus on learning and mentoring is really, really important. So I probably haven't really answered your question, but for me, if you're going to think about reverse mentoring, you've really got to think about what is the outcome. I believe in the aim, I believe in the methodology of it, but the question I would ask is to what effect? Will it make the CEO or the trust board connect with our frontline services? Great. Will it improve representation at all levels? That's the question I would ask. Is it going to improve, reduce disciplinaries? Is it going to reduce the experience of discrimination, bullying, and harassment? That's the type of questions I would ask. Thank you, Claire Vaughan, for the feedback. And I know you've got to drop out the session, but great to hear that you'll be contacting direct, which is great. Thank you, Alison, for your comments as well. Any other questions? Whilst people are thinking of questions, so we've only got about 5 minutes left. From a sense of belonging, if I may, I focus very much on people and the workforce, but we have a corporate social responsibility. So apologies, my private sector colleagues will be happy with me saying that. But what's our CSR responsibility? Our corporate social responsibility. How do we enhance a sense of belonging with our schools, our colleges, our universities, to build our reputation as an inclusive employer of choice? How do we build or enhance a sense of belonging with our community and voluntary sector, who do a fantastic amount of work supporting people or vulnerable people across our communities? How do we enhance a sense of belonging for people who are new joining the organisation, our apprentices, our volunteers, our students? So again, it's such a broad topic, sense of belonging. But for me, my biggest tip, my biggest advice to you is to focus on a methodology. Do your cultural diagnostic, even if you're well ahead of your journey. Do your cultural diagnostic, think about where we are as an organisation, what we're doing well, what aren't we doing well, and then come up with some smart objectives, not 50-page inclusion strategies and 16-page action plans that no one's going to look at, and it's just there for the sake of putting on our website. My strategies and action plans have always been 1 page. That's always what I've delivered and worked towards. And luckily, the results have followed. So again, and please, I don't want to be so conceited to say, my way is the right way. My way works because I do a diagnostic and I build insight and I take a data-led approach. Yes, it's a transferable methodology, but there's lots of other methodologies that work. But what I wanted to really highlight was the impact of the ethnographic research. That's really focused on bringing about some positive outcomes, and quite often not many people know about the ethnographic the ethnographic method in itself. Any other questions? I've got a question for you guys. if you could remove one item from your Christmas dinner, what would it be? And you can't say sprouts, because I love sprouts. If you say sprouts, it's got to be the whole veg. So it has to be a food item. So it either have to be the gravy, any sauces, condiments, Yorkshire pudding. Someone actually said to me roast potatoes. I was like, what? My mother-in-law. That's absolutely awesome. So Alison would remove all the condiments. Sarah James, pigs in blankets. I don't know about that. I don't know. Red cabbage. Sorry, Ellie. It has to be all veg. Or it has to be all veg. No meat. Okay, the vegetarians will be happy. Turkey. Yeah, I tend to. I have chicken rather than turkey. I don't know how to cook a turkey. It's always like really dry. It's like eating cardboard. Actually, I actually I made turkey once, and I just used cardboard instead. It was a lot more tender. Pigs in blanket, keep. Yeah, I think I'm with Alison on that one. So quite a lot of the condiments. It'd be quite dry though, wouldn't it, without any condiments? Brine it overnight first. Thank you, Sarah. That's but this may sound a very stereotypical, like coming from an Asian background. I don't know what brine is. Like, what, it's like I'm from the Midlands. I'm Asian. We don't brine. Don't know what you're talking about, me. So you've got to keep the humor in a very sensitive subject, which is really important. Fantastic. Also, what's worked really well was on the subject of food, glorious food. As part of my well-being campaign here at the Isle of Wight, we've set up celebrity chef cooking cook-alongs. So we've had a couple of Master Chef winners come and deliver a 2-hour or an hour and a half after work live cooking show. So we've had just last week, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, and Tuesday, 4 days, 4 celebrity TV chefs deliver a live cook along, which has been really, really popular. So again, the focus on well-being is really important. And on top of that, happy to share there was a question around the coaching style questions and the health and well-being risk assessment templates. Very happy to share that with you as well, which is really important. Lauren, love the Isle of Wight, great holidays there. Absolutely come visit. It's a beautiful, beautiful place. I live in Southampton, but I did ask them if I could have they have a lease car policy, but unfortunately they don't have a lease yacht policy. That would have been pretty awesome, going over the river. But well, it's not a river, is it? See, there's my ethnic background coming in again. It's what would you call it? Is it the sea? It's water, isn't it? So yeah, the channel. That's it. The Solent, fantastic. The channel. There's my immaturity coming through. Fantastic. So yeah, absolutely keep in touch. I know with 1 minute to go, lease yacht scheme, one for the local negotiation. Absolutely. I did try my luck. I said, look at the results I bring. If you want me, I went all Jerry Maguire on them. I was like, show me the money. But it is the most expensive water crossing, absolutely, which is why I went all Jerry Maguire on them, especially this morning as well. So, but again, guys, it's been absolutely. I wish I could continue talking to you all day. You have been stellar. Thank you so much for your engagement, your participation. I hope it's been useful and great to know that I've made some new friends today. So, thank you so much for your time, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the conference. Thank you so much, everybody.